Happy Sabbath. Happy day. I'll be taking you through the slight or a brief health program. You can start the presentation. My name is Dr. Dickson, Oire, a pharmacist by profession. And today we'll be looking at the common problem that most of us encounter, commonly referred to as peptic ulcers. So are the slides ready? I want us to start from slide number 4. I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that we can all understand and get our message. Slide number 4. So you can zoom. So I want us to look at our body in terms of the digestive system, like a continuous tube or a continuous rail. So our digestive system has various parts. One of the common parts of the digestive system is the stomach. And just in tandem to the stomach is a part known as the small intestine. The beginning of the small intestine is often referred to as the duodenum. So if you look at the picture that is being displayed, it has a picture of the stomach, and then the lower part where it's written the duodenum, that is our two main focus. So an ulcer can be on the stomach mostly, or on that part often referred as to the duodenum. So peptic ulcers can be categorized into two: a stomach ulcer, when it is on the lining of the stomach, or a duodenal ulcer, when it is in the lining of the beginning of a small intestine, what we are calling the duodenum. Now, just like any other part of the body, the digestive system has a protective layer. So what happens in the case of an ulcer? That protective layer is often removed. And once that protective layer is removed, it exposes the inner layer to infections or acidity by creating a wound. That wound is what is often known as an ulcer. So you have a protective layer, that layer is removed. The remaining layer is exposed to, in most cases, gastric acidic content. That gastric acidic content causes the pain that ulcers bring along. Now, what is the common cause of an ulcers in our body? The first cause of ulcers in our body is a common infection by a bacteria known as H. pylori. All of you have heard of H. pylori, right? So H. pylori bacteria, what you'll simply do, the stomach is acidic, but for it to thrive or to survive in the stomach environment, it neutralizes that acid, and it survives in that environment. It infiltrates the wall of the stomach, and it creates a wound. So the bacteria, as it is infiltrating, it will create a wound. If that wound is exposed to an acidic content or acidic substance, you feel a burning sensation in that case. The second commonest cause of ulcers in our setting is overusage of certain medications. Most of us, often, when we have headaches, the first thing we go to is to take Panadol Extra. When you have any pain of any nature, you are taking Brufen, you are taking aspirin. All these medications that you are taking, especially the painkillers, they erode the contents of the stomach, exposing the stomach to the acidic content, which often creates wounds and causes the ulcerations. So those are the two commonest causes of ulcers, H. pylori and medications used to treat, especially pain. Now, what are some of the factors that increase the risk of developing ulcers? Or in simpler terms, if you have ulcers, what are some of the factors that can make these ulcers to exacerbate, to be worse than they are? The first one is the type of food that you eat. The intake of spicy foods will increase the secretion of acid in the stomach. And if you have a wound in the stomach, ultimately, there will be irritation to those wounds. Another aspect of food that should be considered or should be avoided is alcohol. Alcohol will erode the lining of the stomach, also exposing your stomach to developing ulcers. Another case in point of food that is going also to trigger is any food that is acidic in nature. If you already have ulcers, you should avoid foods that are acidic in nature. For example, carbonated drinks, the sodas, Coca-Cola and such, and also the citric acids that we love and the various juices that have been acidified in nature. This should be avoided. We have also seen that another common risk factor for developing ulcers is tight clothing has been shown to cause discomfort to the stomach lining, and also mixing of medications, especially painkillers. You are using aspirin, you are using brufen, you are using aspirin, brufen, paracetamol, that is Panadol. You are mixing all of them. You are exposing your stomach to development of ulcers. So what are the symptoms that once you have them, you should start thinking towards the line of ulcerations? Number one, when you have epigastric pain, this region here, around this region, if you have pain around this region, pain which might be triggered upon eating, when you eat, or might be relieved also upon eating, you should consider that as an indication of ulcers, okay? When you have indigestion, you just feel you have eaten, but the food is still intact in your system, which ultimately might lead to bloating. Bloating is when you have gases in your digestive system. You feel like you have a lot of gases in your digestive system, which will result also in belching. You understand belching, yeah? And then ultimately, to some people who have severe ulcers, they might end up having nausea and vomiting. Nausea is the feeling of wanting to vomit, and vomiting we all understand. So those are the common symptoms. Pain that is relieved or caused by food. Number two, we have said indigestion. Number three, we have said accumulation of gases in the digestive system, which ultimately will result in belching, and eventually there will be nausea and vomiting in those individuals who have severe ulcers. So the key point now home is, how do we manage these gastric ulcers or peptic ulcers? The first thing that we use currently as doctors, we use medication, of course. There's certain medication that you guys usually take for a period of 14 days. So I won't want to complicate, but I just say you use medication, which will consist of an antibiotic and others. Number two, it's diet restrictions. I have told you the diets that result or worsen the ulcers that you have, so you'll have to restrict. So you'll avoid intake of spicy foods. You will avoid intake of alcohol. You will avoid intake of food that are acidic in nature. Number three, you will also, before you use medications for any pain that you are feeling in the body or any condition, you have to seek medical advice, because also drugs do interact with one another and affect how our bodies or our immune system responds. In case ulcers is not managed properly, it ultimately results in conditions which might cause overproduction of the stomach acid. Now you can assume having overproduction of stomach acid and you already have ulcers, it will be a nightmare. And in its eventuality, sometimes you might have developed cancer of the stomach. 1 Corinthians 10:31 tells us that whether you eat or drink, do it to the glory of God. One key pillar of managing ulcers is through our diet. So I would like to challenge all of us that even as we feast or eat, let us also remember that our body reciprocates what we give it. And our body always, whatever you feed in is whatever it will give you out. So I hope we have had a brief introduction to the ulcer topic, which might be helpful to you and your kin and your relatives and children in the days to come. Be blessed.